Welcome to Mystery Chronicles, where we dive deep into some of the most intriguing and mysterious stories from around the world. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And the world plunged into darkness in 1939. World War II, a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality, erupted. Nations clashed on land, sea, and air. Millions were drawn into the maelstrom, their lives forever altered. The horrors of war extended far beyond the battlefields. In the shadows, a different kind of conflict raged. One fought with scalpels and syringes. This was a war waged on human beings themselves. This hidden war was marked by unimaginable cruelty. It was driven by a thirst for knowledge, twisted into something monstrous. It was in this environment that Unit 731, a covert biological and chemical warfare research and development unit of the Imperial Japanese Army, came into existence. The unit's activities remain one of the darkest chapters of the 20th century, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. This is the story of Unit 731, a story of ambition, cruelty, and the enduring struggle for justice. Japan, fueled by militaristic ambition, sought to expand its empire. Its military leaders believed in the nation's destiny to dominate Asia. They pursued this goal with relentless aggression. Japan's wartime conduct was characterized by a disregard for human life. This disregard was evident in the brutal treatment of prisoners of war and civilians in occupied territories. This same disregard for human life permeated the Japanese military's scientific endeavors. Believing in its own racial superiority, Japan's leaders authorized horrific experiments on human subjects. They sought to develop more effective weapons and techniques for waging war. These experiments were conducted with utter secrecy, hidden from the world's eyes. Set in the bleak landscape of Japanese-occupied Manchuria, a secluded facility known as Unit 731 emerged. This unit, officially known as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of the Kwantung Army, was a front for something far more sinister. Behind its innocuous facade, Unit 731 housed a dark secret, a vast complex dedicated to the research and development of biological and chemical weapons. At the helm of this operation was Shiro Ishii, a brilliant but ruthless military physician. Driven by a twisted ambition, Ishii oversaw the transformation of Unit 731 into a nightmarish factory of human suffering. Under his command, thousands of men, women, and children were subjected to unspeakable horrors in the name of science and national advancement. The victims, mostly Chinese and Soviet prisoners of war, as well as civilians from occupied territories, were seen as expendable in the pursuit of Japan's imperial ambitions. Unit 731's activities went far beyond the traditional boundaries of warfare. The unit's scientists, operating under a veil of secrecy, conducted a wide range of inhumane experiments. These experiments, often performed without anesthesia, were designed to test the limits of human endurance and the effectiveness of various biological and chemical agents. Prisoners were infected with deadly diseases such as plague, cholera, and anthrax, their bodies becoming living laboratories. They were subjected to vivisections, their organs removed and studied while they were still conscious. The results of these experiments were meticulously documented, adding to a growing body of knowledge that would later become a source of both horror and controversy. Despite the secrecy surrounding Unit 731, whispers of the atrocities committed within its walls began to emerge. Rumors spread among the local population, carried by those who had witnessed the comings and goings at the facility. The truth, however, remained largely hidden from the outside world. The full extent of Unit 731's crimes would not come to light until after the war's end. Even then, the story of Unit 731 remained shrouded in controversy. It was a story of unspeakable cruelty, official cover-ups, and the enduring legacy of wartime atrocities. It is a story that demands to be told, a stark reminder of the dark side of human nature and the importance of confronting the past, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Shiro Ishii, the mastermind behind Unit 731, was a man of stark contradictions. A brilliant bacteriologist with a prestigious medical degree, he possessed a keen intellect and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Yet, these qualities were intertwined with a chilling lack of empathy and a ruthless ambition that would ultimately lead him down a path of unspeakable cruelty. Born into a family of wealthy landowners in Japan, Ishii rose through the ranks of the military medical service with remarkable speed. He was a staunch nationalist, deeply devoted to the idea of Japanese superiority and the expansion of the empire. His belief in the inherent righteousness of Japan's cause blinded him to the ethical boundaries that should have governed his work. In his mind, the ends justified the means, no matter how horrific those means might be. Under Ishii's direction, Unit 731 evolved from a modest research facility into a sprawling complex of terror. Located near the city of Harbin in Japanese-occupied Manchuria, the unit occupied over 6 square kilometers of land, hidden from public view by high walls and barbed wire fences. Within this isolated compound, a sinister transformation took place, turning a place of supposed healing into a factory of death. The facility included laboratories equipped for vivisection and the study of infectious diseases, along with barracks to house both prisoners and the military personnel assigned to the unit. There were also crematoriums, grim reminders of the fate that awaited those who entered this place. The sheer scale of the operation was a testament to the Japanese military's commitment to biological warfare and the utter disregard for human life that fueled this horrific endeavor. As Unit 731 expanded, so too did its need for personnel. Ishii, a charismatic and persuasive leader, carefully selected individuals from the military, medical corps, and research institutions across Japan. He sought out those who shared his ambition, his lack of moral scruples, and his unwavering loyalty to the cause. These recruits, many of them young and impressionable, were lured by the promise of prestige, advancement, and the opportunity to contribute to what they were told was a vital national endeavor. They were indoctrinated with the belief that the prisoners they would be experimenting on were less than human, mere expendables in the pursuit of a greater good. Thus, a generation of Japanese doctors and scientists were corrupted, their skills and knowledge twisted to serve the darkest impulses of the regime. Secrecy was paramount to the operation of Unit 731. The Japanese military understood the potential for international outrage should the true nature of their research come to light. Every effort was made to conceal the unit's activities from the outside world, including from many within the Japanese government itself. The facility was heavily guarded and access was strictly controlled. Local workers were kept in the dark about the true purpose of the unit, often given cover stories about agricultural research or disease prevention. Correspondence and reports were carefully coded, and personnel were sworn to secrecy under threat of severe punishment should they ever reveal what they had witnessed within the walls of Unit 731. The medical professionals who participated in the atrocities at Unit 731 betrayed the very oath they had sworn to uphold. Instead of using their knowledge to heal and preserve life, they became instruments of torture and death, driven by a toxic combination of ambition, nationalism, and a warped sense of duty. They abandoned their humanity in the pursuit of scientific knowledge. These doctors conducted horrific experiments on their victims, subjecting them to vivisections without anesthesia, infecting them with deadly diseases, and observing the agonizing progression of their illnesses. They exposed prisoners to extreme temperatures, testing the limits of human endurance to frostbite and heat stroke. The suffering they inflicted was unimaginable, a testament to the capacity for cruelty that can exist even within those sworn to alleviate it. Despite the veil of secrecy surrounding Unit 731, whispers of the horrors taking place within the facility's walls began to circulate. Local villagers spoke in hushed tones of the trucks that arrived at night, laden with prisoners who were never seen again. The stench of death emanating from the crematoriums hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the unspeakable acts being committed within the compound. These rumors, though fragmented and often dismissed as wartime paranoia, hinted at the dark truth that lay hidden beneath the surface of Unit 731's official facade. The full extent of the atrocities would not be revealed until after the war, but even then, the story of Unit 731 would remain a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the fragility of human compassion in the face of ideology and war. The victims of Unit 731 were not seen as human beings by their tormentors. They were logs, as the Japanese personnel chillingly referred to them, expendable materials to be used and discarded in the pursuit of scientific knowledge. Stripped of their names, their identities, their very humanity, these prisoners were reduced to mere specimens upon which unimaginable horrors would be inflicted. The majority of the victims were Chinese prisoners of war captured during Japan's brutal invasion and occupation of Manchuria. Others included Soviet soldiers, Korean civilians, and even individuals suspected of harboring anti-Japanese sentiments. Among them were men and women of various ages, backgrounds, and walks of life, all united in their suffering within the walls of Unit 731. They were housed in cramped, unsanitary conditions, deprived of adequate food, water, and medical care. The constant threat of being selected for an experiment hung over them like a dark cloud, a terrifying lottery where the only prize was unimaginable pain and suffering. The experiments conducted at Unit 731 read like a gruesome catalog of human cruelty, driven by a perverse curiosity and a desire to understand the limits of human endurance. The unit's scientists subjected their victims to a wide range of horrific procedures. These experiments were carried out with a cold clinical detachment. The suffering of the victims documented meticulously as mere data points in their research. Prisoners were infected with diseases such as plague, cholera, anthrax, and typhoid fever, their bodies becoming living laboratories as the scientists observed the progression of the illnesses. Different strains of pathogens were tested to determine their virulence, and various treatments were experimented with, often with little regard for the suffering they inflicted or the likelihood of success. In addition to disease, the victims were subjected to extremes of temperature, locked in pressure chambers to simulate high altitude conditions, and exposed to chemical weapons to study their effects. These experiments were often fatal, and those who did survive were usually killed and dissected to observe the internal damage inflicted. Among the deadliest weapons in Unit 731's arsenal was the plague, a highly contagious and often fatal bacterial infection. The unit's scientists, eager to understand the disease's potential as a biological weapon, went to horrific lengths to cultivate and weaponize the plague bacillus. Prisoners were infected with the plague through various means, including injection, inhalation, and even through the deliberate infestation of their food supplies. The agonizing progression of the disease, marked by fever, chills, delirium, and painful swelling of the lymph nodes, was carefully documented. The scientists, clad in protective suits, observed the victims suffering from behind glass barriers, their detachment a chilling testament to the dehumanization that permeated Unit 731. In a cruel twist, the researchers also experimented with different methods of spreading the plague, including the use of infected fleas and contaminated materials. These experiments were not confined to the laboratory. In a series of horrifying open-air tests, the plague was unleashed on villages in China, resulting in the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians. The frigid Manchurian winters provided a chilling backdrop for another series of horrific experiments at Unit 731, the frostbite experiments. Driven by the Japanese military's need to understand and combat the debilitating effects of cold weather on their soldiers. The unit's scientists subjected prisoners to unimaginable tortures in sub-zero temperatures. Prisoners were taken outside, often stripped naked or with only minimal clothing, and forced to stand for hours in the freezing cold. Their limbs were doused with water, accelerating the onset of frostbite. The scientists, armed with clipboards and stopwatches, observed the progression of the condition, noting the time it took for frostbite to set in, the different stages of tissue damage, and the victims' reactions to the agonizing pain. In some cases, different treatments for frostbite were tested, often involving crude and excruciatingly painful methods. These experiments left countless victims with permanent disabilities, their limbs disfigured and often requiring amputation. The frostbite experiments were a testament to the depths of cruelty that can be inflicted when scientific curiosity is divorced from ethical considerations. The operating rooms of Unit 731 were not places of healing, but macabre theaters of suffering. Vivisection, the dissection of living beings, was a routine practice carried out under the guise of scientific research. Prisoners, often fully conscious and without the benefit of anesthesia, were strapped to operating tables and cut open, their organs removed and examined as they lay dying in agony. These gruesome procedures were performed to study the effects of diseases, injuries, and experimental treatments on the human body. The victims, their cries for mercy ignored, endured unimaginable pain as their organs were removed, their bodily fluids drained, and their tissues dissected. The surgeons, masked and clad in blood-soaked gowns, worked with a chilling detachment, their actions a grotesque parody of medical practice. The horrors of vivisection at Unit 731 revealed the darkest aspects of human nature, the capacity for cruelty and indifference to suffering, when scientific curiosity is allowed to operate unchecked by ethical boundaries. Unit 731 was not only a laboratory of human suffering, it was also a testing ground for new and increasingly deadly weapons. Driven by the ambition to dominate the battlefield, the Japanese military sought to develop more effective means of waging war, and Unit 731 provided the perfect cover for their horrific endeavors. Prisoners were used as human targets for grenades, flamethrowers, and chemical weapons. They were tied to stakes and subjected to simulated bombing raids to test the effectiveness of different explosives. The effects of these weapons on the human body, from the extent of burns to the patterns of shrapnel wounds, were meticulously documented. The development and testing of biological weapons were also a major focus of Unit 731's activities. Prisoners were infected with various diseases and then exposed to different types of bombs and dispersal mechanisms to determine the most effective ways to spread deadly pathogens over a wide area. These experiments, a terrifying prelude to modern-day bioterrorism, demonstrated the chilling lengths to which the Japanese military was willing to go in their pursuit of military dominance. The quest to conquer the skies also led to unimaginable suffering within the walls of Unit 731. High-altitude experiments were conducted to study the effects of low oxygen levels and extreme pressure changes on the human body. These experiments, designed to benefit Japanese pilots operating at high altitudes, were carried out with a callous disregard for the agony they inflicted. Prisoners were locked inside pressure chambers, simulating conditions found at high altitudes. As the air pressure was rapidly decreased, the victims experienced extreme pain in their ears and sinuses, their bodies swelling as gases within their tissues expanded. Many suffered from convulsions, their lungs collapsing as they struggled to breathe in the choicy and increasingly thin air. While these experiments often resulted in death, the victims' bodies contorted and their eyes bulging from their sockets. The high-altitude experiments were a grim reminder of the human cost of technological advancement and the ease with which ethical boundaries can be crossed in the pursuit of progress. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Unit 731's legacy is the knowledge that children were not spared from the horrors inflicted within its walls. Even the most basic human instinct to protect the innocent was extinguished within the unit's twisted ideology. Children, some as young as infants, were among the victims subjected to the unit's gruesome experiments. These young victims, often separated from their families and imprisoned within the facility, endured unimaginable suffering. They were infected with diseases, subjected to vivisection, and used in experiments involving frostbite, chemical weapons, and high-altitude conditions. Their small bodies, still developing and highly vulnerable, were ravaged by diseases and pain. The deliberate targeting of children, the epitome of innocence and vulnerability, stands as a particularly chilling testament to the depths of depravity reached within Unit 731. It is a stark reminder of the need for vigilance and unwavering ethical standards, particularly in times of conflict, to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. The horrors of Unit 731 were compounded by the silence that followed the war. Despite the magnitude of the crimes, the full extent remained hidden for decades. Destruction of evidence and political expediency allowed perpetrators to escape justice. The Japanese government was reluctant to acknowledge the atrocities. Many involved, including Shiro Ishii, were granted immunity by the United States. Victims were denied justice and recognition for far too long. Only recently has the truth about Unit 731 begun to emerge. The weight of this silence is a reminder to confront the past, to ensure such atrocities are never repeated. As the dust settled on the ruins of World War II, a concerted effort to bury the truth about Unit 731 began. The Japanese government sought to erase this dark chapter from its history. The sprawling complex at Harbin was dismantled, its records destroyed. Those involved were sworn to secrecy, threatened with severe punishment. Many returned to civilian life, assuming new identities. The world, weary from war, seemed willing to look away. Despite the pervasive atmosphere of secrecy and denial, whispers of the truth about Unit 731 began to emerge from the shadows. Survivors, haunted by the memories of their ordeal, carried with them the horrific stories of what they had endured. Some, unable to bear the weight of their experiences alone, confided in family and friends, their accounts spreading through hushed conversations and whispered rumors. In China, where many of the victims had been taken, evidence of Japan's biological warfare program began to surface. Mass graves containing the remains of those who had died in the open-air plague experiments were discovered, bearing silent witness to the horrors that had been inflicted upon innocent civilians. A few brave individuals, both within and outside Japan, refused to let the truth be buried. Journalists, historians, and human rights activists, driven by a sense of justice and a commitment to exposing the truth, began to investigate the whispers and rumors, piecing together the fragmented accounts of survivors and the scant evidence that had survived the Japanese government's attempts at a cover-up. One of the most controversial chapters in the story of Unit 731 is the deal struck between the United States and the Japanese government. Seeking to gain access to the unit's research data, the United States granted immunity to many involved in Unit 731. This decision has been widely condemned as a betrayal of justice. While many involved in Unit 731 escaped to justice in the West, the Soviet Union conducted its own trials in Khabarovsk in 1949. These trials provided a rare glimpse into Unit 731's crimes. 12 members were charged with developing and using biological weapons. The Soviet prosecutors presented evidence and testimonies. The Khabarovsk trials exposed some details of Unit 731's activities. All 12 defendants were found guilty and sentenced. However, the trials did little to address the broader issue of accountability. For the survivors of Unit 731, the physical and psychological scars ran deep. Many carried lingering effects of diseases and injuries, haunted by trauma and fear. The Japanese government offered little support. True justice remained elusive, the scars a constant reminder. The legacy of Unit 731 is a dark stain on the conscience of humanity. It stands as a stark reminder of the depths of cruelty that human beings are capable of inflicting upon one another, particularly in times of war, when ethical boundaries are often blurred and the value of human life is diminished. The unit's activities represent a gross violation of medical ethics and a betrayal of the fundamental principles of human dignity. The doctors and scientists involved, who swore oaths to heal and preserve life, instead used their knowledge and skills to inflict unimaginable suffering and death upon innocent victims. The story of Unit 731 is also a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition, nationalism, and the pursuit of scientific knowledge at any cost. It highlights the importance of accountability, transparency, and a commitment to ethical principles. even in times of conflict, to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. Despite the growing body of knowledge about Unit 731, many questions remain unanswered. The full extent of the unit's activities, the number of victims who perished within its walls, and the precise nature of many of the experiments conducted remain shrouded in secrecy and the fog of time. The destruction of evidence by the Japanese government in the aftermath of the war, coupled with the silence of many of those involved, has made it difficult to piece together a complete picture of the horrors that unfolded at Unit 731. The lack of a full accounting of the unit's activities continues to fuel speculation, conspiracy theories, and a sense of unease about the true extent of Japan's wartime atrocities. The search for answers continues, driven by the survivors and their families who seek justice and recognition for their suffering, by historians and researchers determined to uncover the full truth, and by a global community committed to ensuring that such atrocities are never forgotten and never repeated. The long shadow of Unit 731 stretches far beyond Manchuria. It reaches across continents and generations, touching lives and leaving lasting scars. The wounds, both physical and psychological, continue to fester. Survivors' memories remain vivid, a constant source of pain. Physical scars and psychological trauma serve as daily reminders. Many struggle with feelings of shame, guilt, and anger. Families of victims carry the weight of Unit 731's legacy. Many lost loved ones, their fate shrouded in secrecy. The lack of closure and long silence compound their grief. The story of Unit 731 is not just a tale of wartime atrocities. It is a stark reminder of the importance of historical memory and the dangers of forgetting the past. For decades, the Japanese government, driven by a desire to move on from its wartime past and rebuild its international reputation, downplayed the significance of Unit 731's crimes, denying its responsibility and suppressing evidence of its activities. However, the truth, like a persistent shadow, refused to be silenced. The tireless efforts of survivors, historians, journalists, and human rights activists gradually brought the horrors of Unit 731 to light, forcing a reluctant world to confront the dark side of human nature and the fragility of peace. The process of reckoning with the past has been long and arduous, marked by denial, resistance, and a reluctance to confront uncomfortable truths. However, it has also been a testament to the power of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of seeking justice, even decades after atrocities have occurred. Unit 731 stands as a chilling example of the fragility of ethical boundaries, particularly in times of war. The doctors and scientists who participated in the unit's activities, many of whom were highly educated and respected professionals, abandoned their oaths to heal and preserve life, becoming willing participants in a system that dehumanized and brutalized innocent people. The unit's activities raised profound questions about the nature of scientific inquiry, the limits of human curiosity, and the ease with which ethical principles can be compromised in the pursuit of knowledge or national interest. It serves as a stark reminder that progress, technological or otherwise, cannot be divorced from moral considerations, and that the pursuit of knowledge must always be tempered by compassion and respect for human dignity. The legacy of Unit 731 is a call to vigilance, a reminder that the potential for cruelty and barbarity exists within all societies, and that it is only through constant vigilance, ethical education, and a commitment to human rights that we can hope to prevent such atrocities from happening again. While Unit 731 may seem like a relic of a distant past, its echoes can still be felt in the present day. The horrors of biological warfare, the use of human subjects in medical experiments without their consent, and the suppression of evidence of wartime atrocities are not just historical footnotes. They are issues that continue to resonate in conflicts and humanitarian crises around the world. The Geneva Conventions, the Nuremberg Code, and the Biological Weapons Convention are examples of the international community's commitment to upholding human rights. However, the world continues to grapple with complex ethical dilemmas related to warfare, medical research, and new technologies. The development of new biological agents, the potential for genetic engineering, and the increasing use of autonomous weapon systems raise new ethical challenges that demand careful consideration and international cooperation. As time passes and the events of World War II recede into history books, it becomes increasingly important to preserve the memory of Unit 731. The survivors, now elderly, carry a vital piece of history, a testament to human resilience and the importance of truth. We must listen to their stories and honor their experiences. By remembering the past and learning from it, we can work towards a future where such atrocities are never repeated.